Welcome back to Designsmith. I saw this really cool poster on Pinterest, and I thought it would be a really great example to talk about how you can use really tight kerning in your posters and still make it look really nice. Before we get started, please subscribe to support the channel. All right, so I posted this design on Instagram yesterday, and I just had a lot of fun making this design with this particular color palette, so I figured I'd do it again for this poster. All right, so what I'm gonna do is set a background color of near black, and the reason we're not doing 100% black is we're gonna be taking this into Photoshop and applying some really cool effects. All right, let's go ahead and lock this layer so we can just kind of click and drag without moving that background. And this is a very simple 4-square type of layout here. So I'm not gonna create any guides for it, but all I'm gonna do is just lay out our 4 squares here. We'll do the same thing here. The size really doesn't matter at this point because we can just control it right up here in the transform panel. And I think that 1 inch margin around that looks good. So let's bring this all the way up to about 16 inches there. That makes each one of these 8 inches apiece. And I think that I will extend this down to 27 inches. Let's unlock this so that we can drag this all the way down here. And now let's make each one of these a different color. And if you look right here, we've got these really cool overlays going on. So we'll do that right there. And let's kind of create one right here. I'll make these exactly 2 inches. I'll introduce that blue right there. And let's rotate this. We'll align that perfectly with that. I think that yellow would be a cool color right there. And we'll rotate this right here. Bring that here. We'll make that pink. And this last one here, we'll make green. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of color combinations that we can do right here, but I actually think this one's pretty cool. I like that one blue is just kind of hanging out there. It's not seen anywhere else, but it's fine. And this is the color palette that I use when I'm doing anything for the early 90s. And for me, that was Nickelodeon. So we'll just use Nickelodeon. All right, if you look at this font over here, they're using a very lightweight version of it. So let's do light. I think that looks good. And the kerning here is really tight. They're almost touching each other. So we're gonna do that exact same thing. All right, so we've got it really, really close to each other, and I think that that's looking really nice. Let's bring this up to a nice rounded and manageable size, and let's duplicate this over here, and I'm gonna change the alignment to right. And we'll align this to this box right here. And we'll say that this poster is actually from the early 90s, so we'll say the only network for kids. Now we've got to match that same tight kerning there. All right, that's looking really cool. And now let's go ahead and decrease our leading. I'm gonna bring it about the same level as our kerning right there. As you can see, that's very, very tight right here. Now you may see something like this and it may really put you outside of your comfort zone, but just remember that super tight kerning and super loose kerning are always in style. It just depends on how you utilize it. And since this is a kids poster, let's go ahead and color drop some colors here for the word kids. Just makes it a little bit more fun. And we'll drop that blue in there. And since we have that super tight kerning, I'm gonna see if I can get this to 2 lines. And then we'll say something super outdated, like check your local listings. But we need to bring this down to probably 60 points. And let's adjust our leading here. And now we'll adjust the kerning on this as well. Every time I'm going into kern here, I have to keep telling myself not to do it the way I normally do it. All right, and now I'm gonna grab everything that we've got on here and hit copy. And I have a document in Photoshop set up as 18 by 27 at 300 resolution. And now we can paste as a smart object and hit OK. Now let's go ahead and add a background layer here. And our margins were 1 inch, so let's set some guides right here. And we'll move this right up here, and it needs to nudge over just a little bit. And remember, we need to raise up this black a little bit, maybe to like 6% or 7%. And I have these 2 paper textures right here. One that's like a lined notebook paper, and another one that's like a photocopy paper. So we're gonna use both of these. I'm gonna drag and drop this onto our document here, move the layer all the way up to the top, and now we'll center it. I'm gonna scale this up. I'm gonna hold down Shift to release those proportions there. And I'll change the blending mode to something that's gonna allow those textures to shine through. Divide is nice, but we need to invert it. There we go. So we've got just really nice minimalist kind of specks going on right there. And I'm gonna brighten up our background color just a touch. All right, and now we'll grab our lined paper here. We'll bring that up to the very top. This time I'll scale this up proportionately there. And now I'm gonna invert those colors and desaturate to get rid of the red. And now we'll just cycle through our blending modes. And you could cycle through your blending modes by holding down Shift and pressing plus or minus. Okay, I think difference is probably my favorite. And the very last thing I want to do is I want to make this look a little bit aged. The type here looks far too clean and sharp. So we'll select our Vector Smart Object layer, go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And we'll do something like either a 2 or a 3. We don't want it to get too crazy right there. We want it to taper a nice amount. Actually, I think that 1.5 might be my favorite. And one last thing I want to do is double click on the Vector Smart Object here. And I want to change everything that's white to something that's a little bit under 100% white, because I want our textures to show through that text as well. All right, now we'll hit save and go back to Photoshop. All right, and now those textures are showing through that text. Might be a little hard to see, so I'll zoom in for you. This is before and this is after. It's real subtle, but it does make a big difference. All right, here's our finished product, our very tightly kerned Nickelodeon early 90s style poster. I hope this was valuable to you, and I hope you take the practice of tightly kerned letters and do something really awesome with it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.